The house was quiet in a way that felt too sharp, like silence with an edge. The living room lamp was on, throwing a warm circle of light across the rug, but everything outside that circle looked dark and far away. Claire Anderson sat on the couch with a blanket around her shoulders, staring at the muted television. She wasn't watching. Her mind kept drifting, pulled backward by memories she didn't invite. Winter nights always did that to her. They stretched time. They made old thoughts louder. She heard footsteps down the hall, slow, calm, not rushed, not careless. Claire knew that walk. She turned her head just as her brother Ethan appeared in the doorway. He paused for half a second, as if checking whether she was really there. Then he stepped into the living room. "Hey," he said. His voice was soft. That was unusual. Ethan was usually louder, full of jokes and easy smiles. Tonight, he sounded careful, like each word mattered. "Hey," Claire replied. She sat up a little. "You can't sleep either." He shook his head and walked farther into the room. He didn't turn on another light. He didn't touch his phone. He just sat down in the armchair across from her, resting his elbows on his knees. "No," he said, "just needed a minute." That made her chest tighten. Ethan didn't often need minutes. He was the one who filled silence, not the one who sat inside it. They stayed quiet for a few seconds. The TV murmured in the background, some late-night show neither of them cared about. Outside, the wind brushed against the windows. Ethan looked around the room, then back at Claire. His eyes held something serious, something deep. "Can I ask you something?" he said. Claire nodded right away. "Yeah, of course." He took a breath. It was small, but she noticed it. "Do you ever think about how fast things change?" he asked. She frowned slightly. "All the time." He gave a faint smile, like he was glad she understood. "Feels like yesterday we were kids fighting over the remote." He stopped, searching for the right words. "Now everything feels heavier." Claire pulled the blanket closer. "Life got rough," she said simply. Ethan nodded. "It's their father's illness, their mother's death 2 years later. Moves, breakups, jobs that came and went. They had survived a lot, side by side." "Do you remember Mom's old rule?" Ethan asked. The one she repeated like it was law. Claire didn't have to think. "Don't run from love just because you're scared," she said. She said fear lies. He let out a short breath, half a laugh. "Yeah, that one." The room felt warmer at the sound of their mother's words, like she was sitting with them for a moment. Claire swallowed, her throat tight. Ethan leaned forward, his hands clasped together. "I think I might be at one of those moments," he said. Claire felt alert now, fully present. "What do you mean?" "I met someone," he said. "Not just a date, not just fun. Someone real." She studied his face. There was no excitement in his expression, no bragging. It's just honesty. "That's good," she said. "Why do you look like you're about to walk into a storm?" He smiled weakly. "Because I care." That single sentence said more than a long speech could have. "I haven't felt like this in a long time," Ethan continued. "Anakeef. Thinking about what happens next. About what I could lose." Claire nodded slowly. "When you care, you risk pain." "Exactly," he said. "And I don't know if I'm ready to risk again." Claire shifted on the couch, turning her body toward him. "I've always been brave," she said. He shook his head. "I've always been good at pretending." That surprised her. Ethan was strong. Everyone saw that. But strength often hid fear well. "She makes me calm," he said suddenly. Not excited in a loud way. Calm, like I can breathe when she's around. Claire felt a small ache in her chest. That kind of love was rare. And that scares you. "See? It scares me how much it matters," he replied. "If I mess this up, it'll hurt more than before." Claire thought of her own past. The relationships that started bright and ended quietly. The nights she sat alone, wondering where she went wrong. She understood his fear better than he knew. "What are you asking me?" she said gently. Ethan looked at her, really looked at her like he needed her answer to steady himself. "I need to know if it's selfish," he said. "If it's wrong for me to choose happiness now." Claire frowned. "Why would it be wrong?" "'Cause things are still fragile," he said. "Because you're still finding your footing. 'Cause this family has been through so much." Her heart twisted. "Ethan," she said, "you don't owe suffering to anyone." He swallowed. "I don't want to leave you behind." That sentence hit her harder than she expected. Not because she felt left behind, but because he was worried about it. "You wouldn't be leaving me," she said. "You'd just be moving forward." He stared at the floor for a moment. Then he looked back up. "I've been thinking about asking her something," he said. Claire held her breath. "Something big," he added. The air in the room felt thick now, like the moment before a storm breaks. "What kind of something?" she asked, though she already guessed. Ethan's voice dropped. "I want to ask her to marry me." The words settled slowly, like snow falling outside. Claire's heart jumped, then softened. "But," he continued quickly, "I can't do it unless I know you're okay. I need to know you're with me on this." Claire felt tears rise without warning. Not sadness, not fear, something warmer. "You came in here so calm," she said softly, "and all this was sitting inside you." He gave a small nod. Didn't know how else to say it. She stood up before she even realized she was moving. The blanket slipped from her shoulders. She crossed the room in 3 steps and stopped in front of him. "Ethan," she said, her voice steady even as her eyes filled. "Why would I ever stand in the way of your happiness?" He looked up at her, surprised. "You mean that?" She laughed quietly. "I mean it more than anything." She reached out and pulled him into a hug. He froze for a second, then wrapped his arms around her tightly, like he had been holding his breath for days. "I was so afraid," he admitted, his voice muffled against her shoulder. "I know," she said, "but love isn't something you delay until life is perfect. You take it when it comes." They stayed like that for a moment, the past and present blending into something softer. When they pulled apart, Ethan's eyes were wet, but he was smiling. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" she asked. "For believing I deserve this." Claire smiled back. "You always have." They sat down again, closer now, the tension gone. The TV kept playing, ignored. Outside, the wind had quieted. Ethan leaned back, lighter than before. "I think Mom would have liked her," he said. Claire nodded. "I think Mom would have loved that you asked." The clock ticked past midnight. The living room felt different now. Not empty. Not heavy. And as Claire listened to her brother talk about the future with careful hope, she realized something important. Sometimes love doesn't arrive loudly. Sometimes it walks into the room calmly, sits down, and asks a simple question that changes everything. Claire stayed standing for a moment after hugging Ethan, as if her body needed time to catch up with her heart. The room felt different now, lighter. The air no longer pressed down on her chest. Ethan rubbed his face with his hands, then laughed. Softly, the sound shaky but real. "I didn't know I was holding all that in," Kay said. "You've always done that," Claire replied. "You carry things quietly." They sat back down, closer than before. Ethan leaned into the couch, his shoulders relaxed for the first time that night. Claire studied him, noticing details she usually missed, the tired lines near his eyes, the way relief softened his face. So she said, "Tell me about her." Ethan smiled, not wide, not proud, just warm. "Her name's Rachel. She hates loud places, loves old bookstores. She listens more than she talks." Claire nodded, listening closely. "How did you meet?" "At a charity event," he said. "I spilled coffee on her coat." Claire laughed. "Course you did." "She didn't even get mad," he continued. "She just looked at me and said, 'Guess this is how today's going.' And that was it." Something clicked. As he spoke, his words came faster, like a door had opened. He told her about quiet dinners, long walks, the way Rachel reached for his hand without thinking. Not dramatic moments, Small ones. Real ones. Claire felt a familiar ache, but it didn't hurt the way it used to. It felt clean, like longing without bitterness. She makes me feel seen, Ethan said. Not for what I do, just for who I am. Claire swallowed. That matters. It does, he said, especially after everything. They both went quiet at that. Everything didn't need explaining. It lived between them. Ethan leaned forward again. I was scared you'd feel pushed aside, he admitted. Ha! I was moving on without you. Claire shook her head. Moving on doesn't mean moving away. We're still us, he smiled. You're stronger than you think. She shrugged. Maybe I've just learned how to bend. The clock ticked. The house stayed still. Ethan glanced toward the hallway. I was going to ask her tomorrow, he said. Claire raised her eyebrows. Tomorrow? He nodded. I wanted to talk to you first. I needed to. She reached out and squeezed his hand. Then go do it. He squeezed back. You sure? More. Then sure. He stood up, pacing once, then stopping. What if she says no? Claire stood too. Then you'll survive. You always do. But if you don't ask, you'll regret that longer. Ethan exhaled slowly, like he was letting go of fear. You're right. They hugged again, shorter this time, but firm. Then Ethan headed down the hall, stopping at his bedroom door. Claire, he said. Yeah, thank you for making room for this. She smiled. Thank you for trusting me with it. He went to bed and the house settled again. Claire returned to the couch, pulling the blanket around her shoulders. She turned off the TV. The silence now felt kind, not empty. She stared at the dark window, her reflection faint against the glass. Her phone buzzed. A message from a friend she hadn't answered in weeks. She didn't open it. Not yet. She thought about Ethan's face when he talked about Rachel. Calm, hopeful. She wondered when love had last made her feel that way. Years ago, maybe before. Heartbreak taught her caution. She pressed her feet into the rug, grounding herself. She wasn't broken, just waiting. The next morning came quickly. Sunlight filled the kitchen as Claire poured coffee. Ethan walked in, nervous energy written all over him. Big day, she said. He smiled tightly. Big day. They ate toast. In silence. Then Ethan grabbed his jacket. At the door, he paused. Wish me luck, he said. You don't need it, Claire replied, but you have it. He left. Hours passed slowly. Claire cleaned, paced, sat, stood. Her phone buzzed again and again, but none were from Ethan. She tried to read, failed, stared out the window. Then the door opened. Ethan stepped inside, eyes bright, hands shaking. Well? Claire asked, her heart pounding. He grinned. She said yes. Claire laughed, a sound that surprised even her. She rushed forward and hugged him hard. I knew it, she cried. He said. I cried. It was a whole thing. Good, she said. It should be. They spent the afternoon talking plans, laughing, remembering childhood stories. Ethan showed her the ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. That evening, Claire sat alone again. But this time, the quiet didn't feel lonely. Felt full. She realized something then. Love hadn't passed her by. It had just taken a different path. It had shown up in family, in trust, in moments like this. As the night settled in, Claire felt a soft hope rise inside her. Not loud, not demanding, just there. And she let herself believe that when her own moment came, calm and unexpected, she would be ready to answer.